Welcome to another episode from our show, Anything Goes. I hope you have been following the past episodes, and I hope you have been following also, more importantly, what's happening in our mother church in Egypt. And I'm happy to be joined today with some of our finest youth, and I want to ask him about how much they know and how do they feel about what's happening. I have Irini, Moros, and Mary. I want to just brief you about few things happened, just in case if you don't know. And then we want to I want to get your feel. We are thousands of miles away. The internet made us within the same place. But do we feel their pain? Just happened in the first hour of January. We lost many martyrs. Happened, majority of them were youth coming to pray New Year's Eve. 2 months later, we have a major problem in Giza, Talibiya, and then after this we have Ain Shams, Mbaba, Maspiro. Almost every month the church is saying goodbye to some of our best youth who are becoming martyrs. And if those are in tens of numbers, there are hundreds who are now cross-bearers. I personally know many of them who lost a limb, who burnt, who are needing major plastic surgeries, and some of them are disfigured completely. Some of them are being treated abroad because the treatment is not enough, and sometimes those countries are not able to satisfy their treatment. Now, you guys here are representing a cross picture of many of the youth in America. How do youth respond and feel when they hear these things? Irini, I want to start with you.
I feel like the youth are not responding very actively because we're so far from everything, and we're in a peaceful country. We're not going to feel it personally, whereas the other youth in Egypt, of course, they feel it personally because it's happening firsthand to them. So we're kind of ignorant about some of the things happening in Egypt because we're here experiencing our own troubles.
Do you think we are ignorant or we want to be ignorant? In other words, if we want to know, would it be possible that we can know? Or it's really not revealed to us? Sorry to interrupt you.
Of course, sometimes we're always like giving our back to what's happening in Egypt because if it doesn't affect us, why bother learning about it? And also because we don't want more burdens, like aside from school and studying and everything else. So why add more troubles to us? So we just kind of ignore it.
Mary, what do you feel about it?
I think sometimes also I ignore it because I have a hard time like being emotional about it. Like I try, like we'll pray on Sunday after the Divine Liturgy and we praise, or an Abuna will pray for Egypt. But I have a hard time. Some people get emotional about it, but I just can't. The first one really hit me, like the one on New Year's, that really affected me. And I remember like seeing the images, and I would watch the Coptic TV because I was interested, and I felt really upset. But then after so many, I have a hard time bringing up emotions, so I don't bother.
Moros, there was a church 3 weeks ago that got completely destroyed and burnt. It's called Marimina Church in Mbaba. I just want you to picture your own church. A group of thugs walk in. Nobody did anything to them. And they go to your church and they do that. How would you feel?
Angry. It's very angry. Just imagining it happening to our church here in Queens. But I agree with Mary. Like on the New Year's incident, that really, I think it struck most youth. But after that, all the other incidents, it almost unfortunately feels like it's the normal that they're going through in Egypt. So it's very saddening and unfortunate that everything that's been happening. But in terms of like how the youth are responding, even myself, like I'm the first to speak that I'm not very emotionally attached to it right now as I was before, because I feel like it's the normal.
Have you ever visited Egypt?
No, not since I came.
You both went recently,
Yeah,
right?
actually went
You
last
actually served in Egypt
Just
last year, right?
Yeah.
Irini, you go sometimes? You don't. So it's among the three of you, two didn't and one went, but still the same lack of reaction. Can I say that? Is that fair?
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair, or I'm over exaggerating?
No, it's
I'm exaggerating.
accurate. No, it's accurate.
You know, it hurts me actually as an elder to know that our youth in the States are not feeling our pains. And if anything is done wrong, I think it's our fault, the elders, the servants. I have a feeling, and you guys come from a church that very strong in its Egyptianhood, but in spite of that, you don't feel what's happening. And I wonder if the leaderships in the States, in the land of immigration, did not really instill in the hearts and minds of their youth the love, the loyalty to their mother church in Egypt. Am I right?
I think that happens though with a lot of things. You could say I'm very much Egyptian, but I'm also very much American. So there's a lot going on in the South now, all the flooding that's going on, or Hurricane Katrina, people talked about for years after. And I really have a hard time kind of like putting myself in the place of one of the victims of these natural disasters. Like, it's just very hard for me to be emotional, to think, like, how would I feel if I was in this place?
Let me ask you, are you fair in equating a natural disaster
No.
to what's happening now to your brothers and sisters in Egypt?
No, but I mean the idea of being a victim of something. Just even if it was happening in the next town over, it's very hard to put yourself in that place. So I think...
Maros, what do you think? Do you think it's the church as a leader in the land of immigration should have or could have done a better job in speaking more how to make you loyal and feel more what's happening in the church in Egypt?
Perhaps I think one thing that it could have done better at was to inform us of all the things that are happening. Like, I personally find out what's happening in Egypt from different people, people saying different things. So I'm not really sure. Like, there are some events that I know happen because they're huge, but other than that, I'm really not as informed as I should be.
Let me ask you, and again, I'm sorry to focus on you for a second. You have been a deacon, say, the last 3 weeks, which happened since Imbaba, then and Shams Church, which, by the way, if you don't know, the government allowed the church to be open after years of closure, and the same day it opened, major rally, major protest, people being beaten, and they couldn't go in. During those last couple of weeks, at least in our church, we have done several prayer meetings. And you don't think that's a way of a bridge of informing you? If we are praying about the troubles, the tribulation is happening, isn't that a method, or you don't think that's what you need to feel about?
It was a general
Right.
prayer for all the events that have been happening in Egypt. But in terms of logistics, in terms of factual things that have been happening, I don't see it as very necessary.
So, Irini, I want you to advise me. I am a leader. So whoever is standing in my position here, hopefully will hear you in Australia and Canada and London. I want you to tell the leader in any group or any church, a servant or a priest, what would you like the church to do for you to be more reactive, more sensitive to what's happening?
I think informing us more, actually, and helping us not only sympathize but empathize with these people, because no matter, we could always feel bad for them, but we'll never personally know how they feel because we're not in that kind of situation. So giving us a chance to put ourselves in that position would be a way of informing us, but I don't know how they would give us that chance because we're so far from them.
I think what you did in the beginning, though, when you told us, like, the statistics, that really, like, people losing limbs, you know, it's not just death, that's it, and martyrdom. It's like people now, their lives are changed.
I personally know of 2 people who were asked to come here to be treated. One of them, a bullet went into his left eye, and that was the time of Nag Hammadi. And he lost vision in the left eye, but his right eye was weak from before. He is 26, I believe. The other guy, he was being treated in Germany. He was supposed to lose his right leg. He has burns in all his body, including his face. The burns now subsided. He has several plastic surgeries. He has a lot of disfigurement. He can't walk in his leg because his right leg is a lot shorter than the left. And at this point, Germany decided not to continue his treatment. That's just 2. One person knows them. I can tell you in every single incident, there are probably 100. Actually, I'm told that there is probably 600 people now are being treated in some hospitals in Egypt and some around. So we know more about the death, the martyrdom. But those cross bearers, can you imagine a cross bearer that she will look disfigured and cannot show maybe part of her face, and she's a young girl and wants to get married and maybe she lost that? I know of a 3rd person that she lost her fiancé. He was killed during one of those accidents. I know of another family, a father lost his wife and 2 daughters in one incident. The whole family was wiped out. I'm trying to make you understand that we are one church. Regardless of one arm here and a leg there, and an arm in Australia and an eye in here, it's the same body. If there is no one head, we will not feel each other. Our problem that we became busy in our own schedules. If we want to know, we will know. But definitely the church has a role to play. I'm not denying it. But the youth need to be more interactive, more active, more lobbying for this. You guys know much more Americans than I do. If a person asks you what's happening in Egypt, I just heard in CNN yesterday that there was an Egyptian riot and Copts are being killed and an Egyptian Coptic church was burned. By the way, this was in New York Times 2 weeks ago. So you are in the summer, so you may not see those people a lot, but can you imagine if you are asked this question? And he's asking you as a representative of the Coptic ethnicity. Not as they may not know your Christian background, but they know you are a Coptic by ethnicity. You have a role to play. You have a role of informing others. So if you are not well informed, how can you be an ambassador? I'm really hoping that all the youth, you and anyone who's hearing me, inform yourself. Get active. Get busy in knowing what's happening to your mother church in Egypt. We are one body. And if we ignore part of our body, then we are not connected with the same head, and the head is Christ. We are not saddened by the martyrdom. We only look at martyrdom to say the church is is getting more prettier as a bride. But of course, we feel bad for all the sufferings and the crushing of rights and the non-equality. But at the end, we know that everything will work good for those who love God. And I wonder if you have ever asked yourself why. I mean, it's a question that sometimes hurts and bothers. What's going on here? Why?
I mean, I think it's definitely waking people up, people who maybe were not interested really, who, like the people who say hi and bye at church, you go on Sunday morning.
So people are praying more during tribulations. Very good point. Mm-hmm. Why? Why God is letting this happen?
The youth in the church that weren't really active within the church, once all these events started happening, they were the ones that really went to the church every day, not just week, every day, and were the faces of the church. Like they made sure they were there to pray, made sure they're protecting their church. Like it really brought a lot of people back to the church who were just having a good time before all these events were happening.
Why?
I think aside from waking people up, God is probably also testing our patience, seeing if we'll still stand strong, if we'll not begin to hate what's happening and the people involved in the massacring of the Egyptians.
I love that, and I agree with you very much in stating that we do not hate those who massacre us, the cops. We actually feel bad for them because it's going to be very, very troubling eternity for them. We feel bad for everyone who kills a cop because his glorification is instant during this martyrdom. We hate the evil act, but we don't hate the doers. And I'm really wish we continue this longer, but our time is coming up. But I'm really hoping that my friends and myself have tried to at least touch upon one string. If you are in any land outside Egypt, your faith came from this land. If you are Christian from Egypt, which means Coptic, it means one of two things. Either your grandfather was killed to keep your faith as Christian, or your grandfather paid the jizya for you to continue to be Christian. And if we come 1400 years after and we do not feel what's happening there, then we don't deserve our faith. We need to be united in faith, united in trouble, united in carrying the cross, united in praying for them, united in rallying, united in sending letters to congressmen, united in sending what they need to have, whether money or medical supplies, united in forefront. Until next time, have a blessed time.